What a surprise. Do you actually think that you scare me, Hannah? What do you have to scare me with, bitch? Yeah, you a bitch. And you a trifling bitch. You are both bitches.
And I told you to watch what you say to me.
Really?
Where's my money? You gonna give me my money? Where's my money, man? Where's the money? Where's the money, man? Where's my money? You got till 5 o'clock. You hear me? You got till 5 o'clock.
All right, so a bit of a comedic opening for this video, and for Have and Have Not fans, we're going to go ahead and talk about all the times that Jim Cryer has gotten his ass beaten on the haves and the have-nots. Now, I could be wrong about this, but I do believe it's been 5 times where Jim has gotten into some kind of altercation, and he's flat out been beaten, bruised, and battered. Now, I believe the first, and as just like I said in the video with has Veronica escaped death too many times, I'm going to list off the number of times there have been altercations. If there's anything that I've missed, feel free to let me know in the comment section below. I believe the first time was when Quincy was Amanda's date at the dinner party at the Cryer mansion, and Quincy and Jim talked alone in his office, and Jim tried to make Quincy leave the house, but then he got beaten, and I think it was David and Wyatt and Jeffrey that had to come in and save him. Then the second time was when he was in jail. David thought Veronica was killed outside of her house when it was really Maggie Day under the sheet. David goes back to the jail in a rage, kicks Jim's ass in the cell. The next time after that is when he's pouring Wyatt's drugs down the drain, and next thing you know, Wyatt backhands Catherine. Jim rushes to her aid. Next thing you know, he gets hit in the back of the head with a bottle, and then Wyatt takes a statue and almost kills him until Catherine screams at him to come to his senses. And then the more 2 recent ones is the Young family, the Hannah Candace tag team, and then of course Benjamin Young. Benny kicked his ass last week. So those are the 5 times that I do believe Jim has been beaten up. People, I believe, I think somebody told me Warlock did as well, but I don't really count when he got abducted and brought to the war room. That wasn't a beating, that was a judge napping. And then they just tied him up, and I don't consider it a beatdown when the cross-dressers and transvestites and everything were taking photos and everything with Jim. So yeah, that wasn't a beating either. I mean, he was getting sexually abused by Candace, if you want to call that abuse. But in any case, it's funny because in each situation, it's like Jim has some bruises that last for quite some time. I think one of the worst, I could be wrong, but I think David gave him the worst beating because I know he had black eye and everything for a long time. Quincy roughed him up a bit. Wyatt, there was probably glass in the back of his head. I know Catherine helped to, clean him off from that. Hannah and Candace, he had some scrapes, and Catherine helped him with that. And then the more recent one with Benny, he just got, bruised. I mean, battered, like body shots. It wasn't many to the face. So I think that, will Jim ever get a win? I don't know. I just feel like, he definitely asked for a lot of these situations. Like when he tried to get Quincy out of the house, he was the one that put hands on Quincy first, like, grabbing him by the jacket, trying to, pull him away. But then Quincy wasn't having it. Then we had David. He was just sitting in a cell, hinting at that he would take care of Veronica. Then David jumped to conclusions. And once again, Jim's just sitting in his cell. David comes in there, starts wailing on him. And Jim was holding his own, but I do believe David went for a shot for below the belt, and that made Jim crumble, and then he ended up losing that until a cop came in trying breaking it up. Wyatt, I don't really count that one as an embarrassment for Jim because he was literally acting out of love by getting rid of the drugs and everything. And remember, it was Wyatt who was grabbing on to Jim, trying to prevent him from pouring the drugs down the drain. Then he backhanded Catherine. So Jim just dropped everything, shoved Wyatt to the side to help Catherine out, which led to an opening where he got hit in the head with the bottle. Then Catherine was screaming for Wyatt to calm down. So Catherine did save Jim's life because, you know, he got hit from behind while trying to protect her. So, you know, in that situation, I don't count that as an embarrassing loss. I count that as, you know, him actually caring about Catherine in that moment. With the Hannah and Candace thing, similar to Benny, he was just running his mouth, like in both situations, just calling Hannah out of her name to her face and calling Candace all kinds of names to Hannah's face as well. So I do feel like, you know, in the Benny situation, it could have been de-escalated. It's like, you know, hey, I came into the house, but I'll tell you what, call Candace right now while I'm sitting right here, which is, I think he could have definitely done that due to the fact that, you know, all the times it's like, you know, you say you're going to do this, Hannah, you say you're going to do that, but for whatever reason, the money just doesn't go back to where it's supposed to be. So in the last two situations with Hannah and Candace and Benny, he just ran his mouth too damn much, and that led to the beatings in both of those scenarios. But if I were to rank them in terms of my favorite one, I'm going to put the Wyatt one at the bottom at number 5, because once again, he was acting out of love and Wyatt was high. So Jim let his defenses down to protect Catherine. If you remember, he kicked Wyatt's ass. I think that was the same morning of Amanda's funeral where Celine came over trying to get Jim to come back to her, but he wasn't going for it. Then Wyatt ran his mouth, was walking up the stairs. I think that Jim like grabbed him by the ankle and then beat the hell out of him. It wasn't until like Hannah stepped in to break it up, because he beat the crap out of Wyatt. So yeah, I'll list the Wyatt beatdown at number 5. Let's see. Well, I don't count when I say, yeah, beatdowns, I don't count like the one where he roughed up Justin in the interrogation room because he came to Wyatt's aid. So I won't count that as a beatdown. This video is for the times that Jim Cryer has gotten beaten. Let's see. I will put the Quincy one at number 4, because in that situation, yeah, if it wasn't for like what was it, Jeffrey, or I know, yeah, Wyatt and David getting Quincy off of Jim, he probably would have gotten a more severe beating than he, you know, was dealt. And what made that scene fantastic was Veronica smirking in the background. That was better than the actual beatdown, because you could tell she was enjoying the hell out of it, especially because she was the one that got Quincy out of jail. Let's see what else we have here. I will put the David one at number 3, you know, when David went to the jail cell and beat him up, because once again, Jim was just sitting there minding his own business. And I never thought of it until this video. Yeah, David, despite being an emotionally calculating and whatnot, when you mess with someone he cares about, he will, like, you know, throw his chips down and just, you know, go off the handle, because he jumps to conclusions a lot. Like, remember, he assumed that Veronica was the one under the sheet at her front door with the cops there. So he, you know, he knew that Jim did it, leading to a beatdown that Jim didn't deserve at that moment. And then when it goes to him going over to Veronica's house the night of the pimp slap, it was under the assumption that Veronica was the one that destroyed the condo when it was actually Justin. So yeah, despite being calm and level-headed, he has his moments, especially with the recent attempted drowning of Veronica, who I don't think is dead. But yeah, this beating left the worst bruises and whatnot. Yeah, it's number 1 when it comes to the aftermath of Jim, you know, looking beaten up. But when it comes to this ranking, I'll put it at number 3. I will put the Benny fight at number 2. I mean, it was great for what it was. Don't get me wrong. From the initial tackle, knocking over the couch, and you know, Benny flipping Jim over and then him jumping over the couch. Somebody said that when Benny, you know, jumped back over the couch and started wailing on Jim, it kind of reminded them of when, you know, Bo Duke would slide across the hood of the General Lee. And I was like, that was a nice touch. I like that. And then he just kept, you know, not just beating Jim, but taunting him at the same time. I was like, oh yeah, you want to play games, huh? It's like, yeah, you notice how fast he just stopped talking shit, huh? It's like, yep. And then, you know, dragging him out of the house and just, you know, dragging him down the stairs, kicking him a few more times. And the worst part is, you know, Benny goes back in the house. Hannah tells him off. But then Catherine comes back and, like, you know, it almost felt like she was talking to her dogs, like, bad dog, get in the car, go home. So there was that. And then the number one spot, believe it or not, and correct me if I'm wrong, like, we saw in the trailer, and this is like, you know, earlier this year, we saw in the trailer that Hannah would slap the taste out of Jim's mouth. But we didn't see in the trailers how far that fight was going to go. We saw Hannah slapping Jim because he got up in her face, but that was it. We didn't see Candace jumping on his back. We didn't see the slap sending Jim reeling into, like, the stairway, like the foot of the stairs, and then, you know, Hannah and Candace tag team him. So I'll admit, originally, I would have put the Benny beatdown at number one, because even though Hannah didn't actively take part in the fight, you got her with the knife in her hand. You got her trying to de-escalate the situation because Benny's ready to fight right then and there. Then it gets to the point where Jim just goes too far, so she starts moving the furniture, basically setting up the arena, and then letting Benny just wail on him. But I will say that even though I think that does qualify as making this the number one fight, I feel like we saw far too much in the trailers, which kind of spoiled it. So that's why I think the Hannah-Candace beating was better. But, you know, even in that beating, I say that Hannah did most of the work. Like, Candace jumped him, but I think, like, you know, Jim did like a slight backhand or push, and just Candace, like, just fell over herself, and then Hannah just took it to town, and then, you know, Candace jumped in again. So I will admit that in that situation, Hannah did most of the work. Candace got a few licks in, but it was mostly Hannah. But I do feel like I was more impressed with Hannah in that scene because I didn't expect her to go that far with it. But once again, with the Benny fight, from the knife to the trying to calm the situation down, but then moving the furniture back and then letting Benny cut loose and do it all, I will admit, I'll say it one more time. I think the Benny beatdown should have been number one. But I feel like the trailers just took too much out. Like, the trailers revealed too much, like, you know, a movie trailer. But, I mean, that was a great ending to the episode. What, we had Candace, like, jumping. Well, yeah, that's right, because Hannah backhanded. Well, no, Hannah slapped the taste out of his mouth. Next thing you know, Candace jumped in, and they were wailing on him, and that's how the episode ended. So then we picked up in the next episode, and that was amazing. So, and I think Chandler and a couple other people brought it up. It's like, you notice when Benny beat him, and then when Hannah and Candace beat Jim, in both of those situations, Catherine just popped up out of nowhere right when the fight was over. And I'm like, that's a nice touch. So once again, folks, in my personal ranking, Wyatt beating Jim, Quincy beating Jim, David beating Jim, Benny beating Jim, and then the Hannah-Candace tag team. Those are my personal rankings for the Jim beatdowns. If you feel different, you know, that's completely fine. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. How would you rank these 5 beatdowns? And on top of that, you know, make sure you subscribe to the channel because I enjoy doing videos like these. And yes, the next video I'm about to record now, I just recorded one about RK. Of course, this one being about Jim. And Tyler Perry's new series called The Oval. That will be coming out soon. But make sure you support the channel by hitting the like button, and I'll talk to you soon. Congratulations on making it to the end of this video. If you like what you just saw, make sure to hit the thumbs up button, or if you have anything you would like to add to the video, make sure to leave your thoughts in the comment section below. If you want to keep up with me on social media, go to the description box. All of my links for social media are right there. Also, if you feel like you would like to donate to the channel, make sure to click on the link to PayPal. Any amount helps. $1, $5, $20. As a full-time YouTuber, any support from my fans really does mean a lot to me. Finally, make sure to hit the subscribe button as well as the bell notification icon. That way you're kept up to date on any new content I post to the channel. Once again, thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll talk to you in the next video.